What if the machine you trust to keep you safe has a mind of its own? Imagine a brand new, state-of-the-art airliner, hailed as the future of aviation. It's on a demonstration flight filled with passengers, performing a low pass at an air show. Thousands watch from the ground. But in a few terrifying seconds, the spectacle turns into a disaster. The plane doesn't climb, it flies straight into a forest. The official report blames the pilot, but the pilot insists he was fighting a ghost in the machine. This is the story of Air France Flight 296Q, the first crash of the revolutionary Airbus A320, and the enduring question, was it pilot error, or did the plane refuse to obey? June 26, 1988. The Mulhouse-Hobsheim airfield in France is buzzing with excitement. The star of the show is the Airbus A320, a marvel of modern engineering. This isn't just a new plane, it's a paradigm shift. Instead of traditional yokes and cables, the A320 is controlled by a side stick and a complex fly-by-wire system. The pilot's inputs are sent to a computer, which then translates them into commands for the flight surfaces. This system was designed to be smarter and safer, with built-in protections to prevent pilots from making dangerously extreme maneuvers. On this day, the A320 was set to show the world what it could do. In command was Captain Michel Asselineau, a highly experienced pilot with thousands of flight hours. His mission was to perform 2 low-altitude, low-speed flypasts for the airshow crowd. The plan, briefed beforehand, was to fly over the runway at an altitude of 100 feet. But as Flight 296Q made its approach, something was wrong. The plane was much lower than planned. Instead of 100 feet, it was descending to a mere 30 feet above the ground. At that height, there is zero room for error. Onboard footage from a passenger's camera captures the chilling final moments. The trees at the end of the runway rush towards the cockpit window. The crowd on the ground watches in disbelief. The sleek, modern jetliner, a symbol of technological prowess, is flying below the height of the forest canopy directly in its path. Captain Asselineau can be heard on the cockpit voice recorder, applying full power, pulling back on his side stick, desperately trying to climb. But the engines are slow to respond. The A320, the plane that wasn't supposed to crash, plows into the dense trees. The impact was surprisingly gentle at first, as the wings sheared through the treetops. But the fuel tanks ruptured and a massive fire erupted almost immediately. Miraculously, most passengers and crew managed to evacuate, but the fire spread with terrifying speed. In the end, 3 people, including 2 children, were unable to escape the inferno and lost their lives. The first ever crash of the Airbus A320 was a tragedy, captured on camera for the whole world to see. The investigation began immediately. The French Aviation Authority, the BEA, recovered the flight data recorders. The data seemed to paint a clear picture. The pilots had deliberately flown too low and too slow, well below the briefed altitude. They had failed to account for the slow spool-up time of the jet engines at low power settings. When they finally tried to go around, it was simply too late. The official conclusion was damning. The accident was caused exclusively by pilot error. Captain Asselineau was accused of reckless showboating. He, his first officer, and 3 others would later be found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. But Captain Asselineau refused to accept this verdict. He had a different story, a story that placed the blame not on himself, but on the revolutionary technology he was piloting. He insisted that the A320's flight protection system, the very feature designed to prevent crashes, had betrayed him. He claimed he had tried to apply full power much earlier, but the fly-by-wire system, in its alpha floor protection mode, didn't respond as he expected. He argued the flight computers, believing the plane was landing, locked him out. making a climb impossible until it was too late. His altimeter, he also claimed, was incorrectly showing a reading.
I don't recall.
This created a fierce debate that rages to this day. On one side, the official investigation, supported by Airbus, states the data is clear. The pilots were late to react, and the computers functioned exactly as they were designed. The engines needed several seconds to spool up from idle, a known characteristic of jet engines, and the pilots simply waited too long. On the other side, Captain Asseline and his supporters pointed to inconsistencies and claimed the black boxes might have been tampered with. They asked a chilling question. Did the computer, in its attempt to protect the aircraft, overrule the experienced pilot and fly them straight into the ground? The episode of Mayday, Air Disaster, titled Pilot versus Plane, perfectly encapsulates this conflict. It highlights the growing tension between human intuition and cold, hard logic coded into a machine. The Air France Flight 296Q disaster was a watershed moment in aviation. It forced the industry to confront difficult questions about automation in the cockpit. How much control should a computer have? When should a pilot be able to override the system? While the Airbus A320 family went on to become one of the safest and most successful airliners in history, the lessons from that tragic day in Hobsheim were learned in fire and controversy. It serves as a stark reminder that even with the most advanced technology, the relationship between pilot and plane is a complex dance. And on that sunny afternoon in 1988, the music stopped.